Yeah, I went to Russia expecting tension, war, and sanctions. Everything I saw on TV.
But the opposite happened, you see. Instead of tension, I fell in love at every corner. There were princesses everywhere. I didn't even know where to look. A vibrant city, people smiling. And for heaven's sake, I've never seen so many beautiful women with sincere smiles and at peace with life. With each step, the story I saw on the TV news was crumbling, little by little.
And then I understood. Was I in the wrong place, or does the media exaggerate a lot?
1. Real life. Man, the first strange thing about Russia wasn't the language, nor the politics, nor someone giving me a weird look. It was paying. I arrived in St. Petersburg thinking the challenge would be deciphering Cyrillic, ordering food, without embarrassing myself. But no, the problem was much more basic. My card didn't work for anything. Nothing. Visa, MasterCard, Apple Pay, Google Pay. Everything became a wallet decoration. And then you understand quickly. In Russia, cash is not an option. It's the rule. You go straight back to the 90s mode, counting bills, separating stacks, keeping money in your underwear next to my egg, and with that strange feeling that you're doing something wrong, even when you're not. And that's when it starts to sink in. This is not a broken country, it's a country disconnected from the Western financial system. Quite different, right? But from the outside, they sell everything as if it were the same thing. Of course, there are hassles. Buying things online becomes a nightmare. Taxi apps don't work without a Russian SIM card. You carry too much cash in your pocket, which is never comfortable, but at the same time, the city works. Cafes are full, restaurants are open, people are buying, talking, living. Then I thought, okay, now I'm going to see the effect of the sanctions. But no, for those who don't know, Russia is still under international sanctions imposed by the United States, the European Union, and allies because of the war in Ukraine. Say Alex. There are financial, commercial, and energy cuts. Russian oil, for example, was banned by sea in several countries. In theory, this should be noticeable on the streets. In practice, that's not what I saw. I started walking, and everything was open. Shopping mall operating, restaurant full, cafe crowded. The question comes naturally. Where are the sanctions? They are there, just not in the dramatic way we imagine. McDonald's, KFC, Starbucks disappeared, but it wasn't like they vanished completely. It was more like the owner left, but the building stayed. In place of Starbucks, there's another brand, another name, another owner. The logo, almost the same. The menu, practically the same. And the coffee? It's still coffee, because at the end of the day, people still want to sit, chat, and have a coffee. And no sanction changes that. From the outside, it looks like everything was shut down. On the inside, it seems like they just changed the label. There's no atmosphere of collapse. There's a silent adaptation, almost embarrassingly normal. This completely breaks that image of a country stuck, stagnant, surviving in emergency mode. It's not a perfect life, of course. There is impact, there are limitations. But it's not that apocalyptic movie scenario they sell abroad, and walking there with money in your pocket, a full store, and a cafe running. Two questions started to really bother. If the system collapsed but life goes on, what exactly collapsed? And this story of sanctions, who was it really meant to stop after all? The government, or the tourist who thought they were arriving in an economic desert? 2. The Russia that no one shows. After understanding that money worked, that there was coffee, and that the city wasn't living an episode of The Walking Dead, I finally started to look around. And that's when St. Petersburg began to embarrass me. Because in my mind, Russia was gray, heavy, brutal buildings, all somewhat Soviet, somewhat depressing. It's just that St. Petersburg simply ignored this script. It is too beautiful and not in a tidy way. It's beautiful in an extravagant way. Big, colorful buildings, full of details. A canal running through the middle of the city. Bridges everywhere. Golden domes appearing out of nowhere. Then you understand why they call this place the Venice of the North. It's not a figure of speech. It's actual envy. St. Petersburg, founded in 1703, earned this nickname because of the canals, bridges, and elegant architecture along the banks of the Neva River. And there's a clear reason for this. This city wasn't made to look like Russia. It was made to look like Europe. It was created in the 18th century by Peter the Great, precisely to be Russia's window to the West. The message was simple. Look at us. We also know how to make a beautiful city, and it worked. You walk a few blocks and think, this could be Paris. Walk a bit more. Okay, this looks like Amsterdam. Turn the corner, and there you go. Now, it's Venice. If I showed you these images without captions, you would never guess this is Russia. And this completely breaks everything we were trained to imagine. Because St. Petersburg doesn't look like a Soviet city. It looks like an imperial city that survived through time.
And an important detail, this is not a film set or an isolated postcard. We are talking about almost 6 million inhabitants, one of the largest cities in Europe. It's real life happening in an absurd setting, and as I walked, an idea started to hit hard.
Could it be that the Russia we imagine never included St. Petersburg, because here there is no end-of-the-world atmosphere? It feels like a city that knows exactly who it is, and doesn't care to explain that to anyone.
And when you reach this point of the walk, the next stop is inevitable. The street where everything happens, where the city shows itself, where you understand how people really live. Nevsky Prospect.
And there, things go to another level. 3. The street where everything happens.
In every big city, there is a street that serves as a showcase. It's the one that has everything at once. Shops, bars, restaurants, beautiful people, lost tourists, and hurried locals. In St. Petersburg, this street is Nevsky Prospect. Think of an Oxford Street, but wider, more beautiful, and much less like a theme park.
You start walking around there and quickly realize that this is not just a commercial street. It's a stage. There are souvenir shops, cafes, restaurants, bars, museums, monumental churches, all mixed together. The Kazan Cathedral, for example, appears in the middle of the avenue as if it were normal to pass by a building of that size on your way to work. But the most curious thing is not the architecture, it's the atmosphere. The street is crowded. People walking quickly, people strolling leisurely, couples laughing, friends chatting, traffic flowing. Nothing there seems like a city in crisis. And then I notice something else. There are almost no tourists, or at least not the classic kind of tourist. I'm the one drawing attention there, speaking English, with a camera in hand, stopping to look at everything like someone who just parachuted in. I start to feel some glances, nothing aggressive, more out of curiosity like, what's this guy doing here? And that completely changes the experience. You are not invisible, not just another face in the tourist crowd. You become part of the strange scene, and curiously that makes everything more human, because people talk, joke, comment on soccer, complain about politics, but in their own way, without performance. Then you realize something important. The city isn't trying to prove anything to anyone. It's just living. While many European capitals today seem tense, silent, or overly policed, Nevsky Prospect seems relaxed. Open bar, tables on the sidewalk, people drinking in the middle of the week, as if it were normal. And maybe it is. And walking there, in the middle of this human theater, comes that uncomfortable question. Who said that a city under sanctions needed to look sad? Because if this is the nerve center of St. Petersburg, then the nerve is working very well. And it is right there, in the middle of this lively street, that I start to notice the people better, their way of dressing, their confidence, their posture, especially the women. And this completely changes the perception of the city. 4. Women and the social game. After a few minutes walking along Nevsky, you stop looking at the buildings and start looking at the people. And then, St. Petersburg changes category, because it's not just a beautiful city, it's a vain city, in a good way. People take care of themselves, dress well, walk with posture, even in the cold. There's no aesthetic of giving up on existence. Here, there is presence. This changes the street atmosphere, the way of walking, looking, talking. The women attract attention not by exaggeration, nor by short clothes or Instagram poses. It's posture. They walk as if they know where they are going, without apologizing and without trying to please anyone. And when people respect and take care of each other, the public space becomes a social place, not a battlefield. No one seems afraid, no one walks lost, no one is trying to escape. This stereotype of the cold and reserved Russian quickly falls apart. On the street, people talk, laugh, meet after work, stop at cafes, sit on benches. The city pulls you out of the house. Then you understand why St. Petersburg is seen as the most European city in Russia, not only because of the architecture, but also because of the behavior. There is life between work and home. There is meeting. There is night. There is the street. And when you add that to a beautiful, safe, and functioning city, the inevitable question arises. Could I live here? It was around then that I talked to a Russian girl. Normal conversation, not an interview. I asked what someone needs to know before really coming to Russia. She laughed and told it like it is. First, don't greet strangers on the street and don't ask, how are you? Ben diwai, ben di, da di bi, da di di. There it sounds fake. If you don't know someone, don't start a conversation. It's not rudeness, it's respect. Second, when you enter someone's house, take off your shoes. Always. Sacred rule. Third, prepare for strong and hot black tea. Coffee exists, but the ritual is tea. Fourth, study English. Many people speak it, especially in big cities. And fifth, Russians like to gather. Dinner with friends almost always includes drinks. Not to fall, but because it's part of the gathering. She said everything laughing, like someone warning a friend not to make a fool of themselves. And it became clear. Russia may seem closed off on the outside, but inside, it's full of invisible rules. When you understand these rules, the city stops being strange and starts to make sense. 5. Summer and white nights. There's something that completely changes St. Petersburg. And no, it doesn't appear in any dramatic winter photo with people bundled up to their foreheads. It's called summer. The city is just over 60 degrees north latitude, almost touching the Arctic Circle, and this creates a wonderful phenomenon called white nights. Between the end of May and July, the sun practically refuses to go away. It shyly disappears around 11 at night and returns before 3 in the morning as if saying, "Relax, I'll be back soon." Now think with me, what happens to a city of almost 6 million people when the night basically doesn't exist? Exactly, it goes crazy in a good way. The day becomes elastic. Stretch, 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 and along with it, life stretches. After work, no one rushes home. People walk, sit in the parks, stop by the canals, talk as if it was still 6 in the evening. And this is not an exception, not a special event. It's routine. It's also in the summer that the city takes to the streets. Festivals, open-air concerts, white nights events. Before the war, this attracted millions of international tourists. Today, even without all those crowds, the custom remained. The city learned to enjoy its own summer and never let go. And then there's another detail that changes everything: the sea. St. Petersburg has direct access to the Gulf of Finland, connected to the Baltic Sea. This creates urban beaches, boardwalks, and open areas where people spend hours simply existing. It's not a selfie beach or one with vendors shouting. It's public space being used, and a city with the sea is something else. It breathes differently. In the summer, these places fill with families, friends, couples, people sunbathing when a ray appears, people walking at night without that feeling of, the day is over, let's go to sleep. And then comes the funniest part. This doesn't turn into chaos. It's not a chaotic nightlife. It's not endless noise. It's coexistence. The city doesn't become a stage. It becomes a giant living room. And looking at all this, the question almost comes with a laugh. How can anyone still imagine St. Petersburg as a cold, isolated, lifeless place? Summer does exactly the opposite. It extends the day and seems to also extend people's desire to experience the city. 6. The night that works. When it gets dark or almost dark, because here that's relative, St. Petersburg doesn't retreat. It changes clothes, the lights come on, the bars start to fill up, the restaurants come to life. Suddenly, more luxury cars appear. Well-dressed people leave work straight to the street, as if the workday were just the break between two parts of the day. And the atmosphere changes. There's no feeling of, let's leave soon. There's a sense of staying. People walk slowly, chat on the sidewalk, sit down to drink without checking the clock every 5 minutes. And then comes something I didn't expect to feel so soon: safety. Not that exaggerated safety with police on every corner, sirens, stern faces. It's something else. It's the simple feeling of being able to walk. Cell phone in hand, camera hanging, without constantly looking over your shoulder. And that matters, because if you've walked at night in several European capitals in recent years, you feel the difference immediately. There are cities today where going out at night feels like a social survival test. Not here. I'm not saying it's perfect or that nothing happens, but the feeling is different. It's the difference between walking tense and walking present, and that completely changes the nightlife. The bars stay full until late. The music doesn't seem clandestine, and people don't seem afraid to be there. You see groups of friends, couples, people alone, everyone sharing the same space without that invisible tension in the air. And then a very simple question came to me: how many beautiful cities in the world have lost this without even noticing? Because St. Petersburg at night doesn't seem like a city in crisis. It seems like a confident city, confident enough to let people live. And when you walk like that, calmly, observing everything, you inevitably end up entering another universe of the city. While many European cities have become survival manuals, here the night still feels like night. 7. The city that survived. I exit the metro and come face to face with him. Lenin, a large statue, serious posture, zero selfie charisma. That presence that doesn't ask if you agree. It's just there, staring at you as if to say, yes, this happened here. And that's when you remember, St. Petersburg is not just beautiful, it's heavy, very. This city was once St. Petersburg, then became Leningrad, and then returned to being St. Petersburg. Few cities in the world have changed names due to revolution, war, and the collapse of an empire, and still remained standing, functioning, beautiful, and full of people walking back and forth as if it were normal. It was from here that the Russian Revolution gained momentum in 1917. It was here that Lenin became a symbol, and it was also here that the city almost disappeared from the map. During the Second World War, Leningrad was surrounded for 900 days, without food, without heating, without a way out. More than 1 million people died, and even so, this city did not fall, which honestly is absurd in itself. And then you walk today through these beautiful squares, see couples taking photos, children running, people laughing, and think, man, this was once absolute hell. Until you remember again, the cruiser Aurora is there, quiet, beautiful, almost photogenic. But it was a symbolic shot from that ship that pressed the button of the revolution. One shot, an entire country turned upside down. Nothing dramatic, just heavy history parked in front of you. And that's the strange charm of St. Petersburg. It's beautiful, but not light. It dresses like Europe, but carries a Soviet scar. It's both showcase and trauma at the same time. Maybe that's why it has this different energy. Confident, but serious. Alive, but aware of what it has been through. Because let's face it, when a place survives revolution, famine, siege, and near erasure, sanctions, harsh winter, and isolation don't seem so frightening. It's like, we've seen worse. And after a whole day walking, observing, absorbing all this, the feeling left is not fear, it's confusion. Good confusion, the kind that messes with your head. Because nothing, absolutely nothing, matches 100% with the image they sold you. Hey, if you've made it this far, comment St. Petersburg below, because only those who watched until the end understood the magnitude of this shock. And before you leave, don't miss the video that's appearing on the screen now, okay? Seriously, this place is incredibly beautiful, and what I saw there completely changes the way you look at the country. See you in the next video. Bye.